Let's talk about it.
Why do you think that jobs will get lost due to this increasing automatization?
Well, we have 200 years of experience with industrial technologies, and for 200 years we've seen the same pattern, which the economist Joseph Schumpeter called creative destruction. And what that means is technological progress does destroy things. It destroys companies, it can destroy entire industries, and it can destroy jobs. But at the same time, that same progress also is an engine of creation. And it creates new companies, creates new industries, and also creates new jobs and new things for people to do.
The issue right now is that it seems that the destruction is speeding up and we're not creating them as rapidly. When we went from the first machine age to the second machine age, we had a transition first of eliminating a lot of jobs in farming and agriculture, but then new jobs came in manufacturing. Now, with the second machine age, many mental jobs are being affected, jobs that involve the brain, and it's become more difficult to find new jobs to replace them.
And I think I am going to live to see an amazingly productive, bountiful, abundant economy that just does not need as much human labor as the economy of today does. So if I think about the kinds of technological progress that I'm seeing with artificial intelligence, with autonomous vehicles, with drones, with agricultural technology, I take what I see today and how fast things are improving. If I project that forward for 40 or 50 years, I don't have any trouble imagining that our farms will be just about completely automated, that our factories will be just about completely automated, that our warehouses will be almost completely automated, the trucks that bring and the trains that bring the goods to us, the airplanes, the ships, these things will be almost completely automated. There's a restaurant that just opened up in San Francisco where when you walk in, you don't see any employees. You order via your phone or your tablet, you pay that way, and then there's a little screen that lights up with your name on it, and you lift up the screen and there's your food underneath it. Okay, is that going to be every restaurant? No, but is that an indication of what might happen more and more often in the future? Yeah, I think it is. So I'm not so interested in 100% automation of a factory or an engineering department or a doctor's office or anything, but I do think that what we're going to see is much greater productivity for the professionals that are left.
The kinds of jobs that are most affected by automation are ones that involve routine, repetitive work, especially involving information processing, like clerks, bookkeepers, middle managers, travel agents. On the other hand, there will be many new kinds of jobs that may be created in three categories in particular. One is in creative work, whether it's artists or entrepreneurs or scientists. A second is in emotional and interpersonal jobs, salespeople, nurturing and caring for people, motivating and coaching people. And the third category is, even for now, is involving physical dexterity, whether it's removing dishes from a table and being a waiter or a gardener or a plumber or a janitor. Those tasks that involve physical work are still fairly difficult to automate.
And I still do believe that creativity is a human skill and not one that we have been able to teach to machines yet. I will be very surprised when a computer writes a novel that I want to read. I think that will be an amazing breakthrough and a scary one from my point of view. But we need to be a little bit careful. Creativity is kind of a word that means so many different things. And I have seen some examples of what machines can do that get closer to what I would call creativity. I've heard really beautiful computer-generated music, for example. There have been some really clever demonstrations of machines that are fed a huge amount of scientific information and then say, generate some hypotheses, some scientific hypotheses about what's going on here. They can do a very good job of that, and a lot of the hypotheses they generate will turn out to be correct.
The types of jobs that are affected has changed over time. In the 1980s and 90s, it was mostly lower skill jobs. More recently, it's been middle skill jobs, a lot of those information processing jobs in the middle of the wage income, in the middle of the skill spectrum that have been most affected. There have actually been some new jobs created at the high end, not surprisingly, that involve a lot of sophisticated analysis. But also, what many people may be surprised is there have also been jobs at the low end doing some of that physical work, like a waiter or a truck driver. So the middle has been most affected.
So this phenomenon of the hollowing out of the middle class, this is a real phenomenon. And I think it's a problem because in North America and Europe, during the 20th century, we created this amazing achievement that we would call the middle class. There was a large, stable, prosperous group of people who were great for democracy, great for growth, great for the economy. This was a really important achievement. And we're seeing this polarization, this hollowing out of the middle right now. And we're trying to understand exactly why that's taking place. Globalization is probably part of it. I think technological progress is part of it. But one of the challenges that I see when I look ahead, I don't know exactly how that we're going to regenerate that middle class. Because when you look at what the middle class was doing a generation ago, they were doing fairly routine work. And in many cases, it was fairly routine physical work, working in a factory. In other cases, it was routine knowledge work, working as a clerk in a company. The machines can do that work now. We are not going to need people to do that anymore. So a really important question is, where is the middle class of tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Where's that going to come from?
That's the crucial question, because in the time between they find a new job for them to find, it can be maybe a difficult time for the people.
Absolutely, and it's losing your job is never easy, never fun. It can be a real disruption for an individual or for a family. One of the things that we're observing is not that we're seeing one technological shock. In other words, it's not just robots, or it's not just artificial intelligence, and it's not just drone airplanes. It's all of these things together kind of coming very quickly one after the other. That makes it very difficult to even figure out what new skills to acquire, what new education, what new training to get. So this challenge, I believe, is a real challenge. Banking is a really interesting profession because as I've looked at it, there are some pretty well-paid people who are either providing advice to clients, which I think could be automated, or they're verifying really important transactions to make sure they happened well. You know, if a bank makes a foreign currency trade for 20 million euro, they probably want a person to look at that trade and make sure that all the details are right. We're getting technologies that are really good at that and getting better all the time. So both of those categories of white-collar work, providing advice and just verifying that important things happen, our technologies are getting a lot better at both of those.
Finance is one of the places that's most on the leading edge of using robots. We saw that with ATMs, automatic teller machines dispensing cash. They were really the first widespread robots, if you think about it, that we saw in our economy. And we see it with software bots that are doing trading in Wall Street and the other financial markets. Literally millions of software agents interacting with one another. We don't get to see them, but they're doing a lot of trades and a lot of transactions.
There is a change, it appears, in customer preferences. So older customers grew up in a world where what made a good relationship with the bank was that personal relationship. You knew your banker, you had built up trust with them over the years, you valued the interactions, the meetings that you had with them. When I talk to younger people, they have a completely different set of expectations and things that they value. They want efficiency, they want transparency, they want things to get done as quickly as possible. The fact that someone's going to come and sit down and have a meeting with me, can I just do this with the app, is part of what they're thinking. So another change that we're going to face is a demographic change and customer preferences when it comes to technology and when it comes to dealing with minds versus machines. Those preferences might shift.
I think it's important to understand that technology can substitute work for work, but technology can also complement work. What I mean by that is that in some cases, technology simply replaces the job, but in other cases, it makes what the human does more valuable. And going forward, I see a partnership where people in finance and other places will use technology to help with some of the routine work, some of the data analysis, but the humans will focus on the interpersonal parts, the creativity, and the human and machine will make a partnership that is more powerful than either of them working separately.
So who knows what will happen in the banking sector, but it's a possibility that it will be also shaken up.
I can't think of any part of the economy, any industry that's not going to be shaken up to some extent by technology. We're going to see, I believe, a lot of disruption. We're going to see new companies emerge. We're going to see new jobs emerge and new roles emerge, but we're going to see the old ones, some of them, go away.
One of the effects that we've seen from the recent waves of technology is that they allow someone with a very good idea to replicate it and reach millions or billions of people. I would say that there's no better time than today to be an entrepreneur with a creative idea, because an entrepreneur like that can use technology to rapidly scale up. People like Mark Zuckerberg reached 1 billion people. There were 1 billion users of Facebook last week. So that's great for entrepreneurs, and it can create vast wealth. But if you're a worker with only ordinary skills, then it's much harder because you have to compete not only with people around the globe, but also increasingly with robots. And this is leading to increased inequality over time. These new technologies, digital technologies that make it easy to replicate ideas and create value for billions of people, also tend to create winner-take-all or winner-take-most markets, where just a small number of people are able to create vast wealth and control vast wealth. Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, they only employ a few 100,000 people, far less than the millions of people who are employed by, say, the automobile companies. So today's technology doesn't require nearly as much labor to create even more value. And this is a concentration of wealth. It's something we need to think about going forward as more and more of the world becomes digitized. It's been said that software is eating the world. Digitization is affecting not just the internet companies, but it's affecting every company. And as more companies become digital and more industries become digital, these same economics of winner-take-all or winner-take-most economics will tend to dominate more and more industries. One of the reasons to be concerned about inequality is that economic inequality often leads to political inequality and an imbalance of power. And in democracies like in Switzerland, the United States, most of Europe, and other parts of the world, we like to see a world where everyone has a vote, everyone has a share, everyone has a say in how the government is run. But if economic wealth becomes more concentrated, that tends to go with more political power and concentration. And that's something that most of us don't want to see.